Welcome to Accessible Coding and Development Training. Let's get started with a basic introduction to accessible development. All users experience and interact with web pages differently than we might assume. So here on the screen, I'm showing some common ways that people navigate digital content. Individuals, for example, might zoom in on a web page. Some users typically rely on the built-in browser zoom controls, or they might use screen reader screen magnification tools to specifically make text and images easier for them to see. So it's important that websites are designed to scale gracefully and without breaking layouts. This has the additional benefit of improving your design so that it will display well and be responsive when viewed on mobile devices. Some users don't use a mouse or a trackpad. Many users navigate solely with their keyboard or assistive technology. They might use touch-based inputs. So it's important that we're ensuring that all functionality is accessible via the keyboard, and we're not creating content, particularly interactive and dynamic content, that will only respond to mouse or touch interactions. Many users use dark mode or high contrast mode, and this is to enhance readability. It could be for comfort. Some users simply enable dark mode or high contrast settings because they find it easier to view, or perhaps they're looking at their phone in different lighting conditions. It's important that websites are supporting these modes without losing any of the essential content or functionality. Some users prefer reduced motion and animation. In extreme cases, motion can cause discomfort or trigger issues for those who have vestibular disorders. At a minimum, some users may simply find these distracting. For users with cognitive disabilities, it might be difficult for them to concentrate on the other content on the page or site. It's important to provide a reduced motion option. So if you have animations and things that play automatically, you're still allowing users to control these effects. Other users might rely on voice recognition to navigate a web page, employing voice commands to interact with digital content without using their hands. It's critical to ensure that buttons, links, and form fields have clear labels so that they can say commands that will help them navigate to those elements as well as interact with them. Some users rely on audio transcripts or video captions in order to understand content. Captions and transcripts are going to be essential for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. But captions are one of many examples where the entire population benefits from having those options available on multimedia. As you can see, accessibility isn't just about disabilities. It's about designing for real people who have different needs and different preferences. And it's important that we're considering these factors in order to create a more inclusive digital experience for the entire population. So what do we mean when we say many people? This is just one example. The Appointment Company did a study that found that across 50 million Dutch iOS and Android users, 50% reported using accessibility features. So this isn't just individuals with disabilities. This is an entire population. 1 in 3 on their mobile devices adjusted the font size from the default setting, and 1 in 3 activated dark mode. On the screen here, I'm showing an image of the accessibility settings on iOS. This is what you would see if you were navigating an iPhone, iPad, or any macOS device. There's options for VoiceOver, which we'll be talking about more in depth. That's the screen reader that's built into these devices. Zoom, display and text size, motion, spoken content, having audio descriptions played by default. These are some examples of accessibility features, and these are more specifically catered to individuals with visual disabilities. Although a screen reader cannot actually see the page visually, it's important not to assume the same of the screen reader user themselves. Digital accessibility is often taught from the perspective of how something works with a screen reader. This could suggest that blindness and low vision related disabilities are the primary accessibility consideration, which isn't accurate. Throughout this course, we will frequently mention and provide examples of screen reader experience, but it's important to understand that visual disabilities, again, are not the only consideration. So how do code and assistive technology play together? In the example of screen readers or voice-based controls, it's important that they're able to understand a web page in order to provide it to a user in a format that they can use effectively. Again, these technologies cannot see the page visually, so they're relying on HTML, in some cases CSS, JavaScript, and ARIA to convey and describe the content and semantics of what's on that page. More specifically, let's look at screen readers on the web. A screen reader is going to announce the content of a web page by default. It's going to announce it literally and linearly. In practice, this can be very tedious or time-consuming for users. It's essentially reading through a code or a document line by line. This becomes particularly tedious on complex web pages. To navigate a web page quickly, a screen reader user can use a number of different keyboard commands to jump between things like regions, headings, links, images, and form controls. They can also use the keyboard with assistive technologies to pull up a list of these elements. In all of these cases, the effectiveness of these navigation techniques is going to depend entirely on the underlying HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and ARIA. Here's a statistic that drives this home. WebAIM's Screen Reader User Survey, which polls actual screen reader users about their habits and preferences, found that over 71% of respondents said that when they were trying to find information on a lengthy web page, they navigate through the headings first. That's their primary strategy. Only 13.6% said they use the find function, and just 6.4% said that they read the entire page from top to bottom. What does this mean for you? It means your heading structure needs to function like a table of contents for your page. Headings should be descriptive. They should be properly nested to show hierarchy, and they should appear in a logical order.